I'm super excited because I am speaking with Shawna Barker from Synergy Nutrition today. And I know that this is a big topic, which a lot of people have a lot of, hi. There's comments on there. So can you see the comments?
No, I can't.
Oh, shoot. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I know that a lot of people will find this really helpful, as it's a topic where there's so much misinformation, and not just that, but the information is so saturated online and on social media that a lot of people get really overwhelmed and they don't know what to believe, they don't know what to think, they don't know what to follow. And so this is going to be great because you're going to break it down for us and help us figure out a way to be healthy on a plant-based diet and get the proper nutrition that we need. So yeah, everyone's going to find this really helpful. I'm really excited, and I have a list of questions. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with an introduction. So if you want to say a little bit about yourself and let us know what your education background, everything you've been doing, because it's all been really exciting.
Sure. Yeah, well, I kind of started on this journey 28 years ago. So as a 10-year-old child, I was an animal lover. I think a lot of us can relate to that. And I just kind of decided to become vegetarian overnight. On my own. My parents were really supportive, so that was great, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was definitely like a junk food vegetarian for the first little while, living off like cheese and crackers and like not eating vegetables. Like, what kind of vegetarian is that? So that sparked my interest in studying nutrition. So after high school, I went to the University of British Columbia and I studied there. So did a Bachelor of Science in nutrition. And then I also went to the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition because I found both programs weren't exactly what I was looking for, but the combination, because I really wanted like a solid science background. So that was great. But neither were really going into detail about plant-based diets and how to do it properly. So I've done a lot of like studying outside of that, just through my own experience. Like I've been vegan now for about 17, 18 years. And yeah, just through my own mistakes that I've made over the years when I first got into it, and then just really learning like how the body works on a biochemical, like cellular level, you can really figure out how to do it properly. And we have like so much great science now to back it up. So I'm really passionate about that. I've been in practice for about 10 years. Most of my clients are vegan, or at least like mostly plant-based. A lot of them are like leaning that way, just for their own, like for many reasons actually. So yeah, I just kind of help people if they have like digestive issues, or anything else related to a plant-based diet that they want to overcome. Because I'll see a lot of people who like went to a different like naturopath or nutritionist and were told to like, you know, start eating bone broth or fish or eggs. And so they come to me like heartbroken and confused, not knowing what to do and why those foods were recommended to them. So I'm kind of like can provide support in that regard.
Yeah, that's so great. And that's why yesterday when we had a conversation, I was like, how old are you? Because I feel like you've been doing this your whole life and not realizing that you had started studying this right out of high school. And so this has been your life. Like, this is everything that you've been living, breathing, studying, which is so great. And
yeah,
so great to hear. So I'm really excited about what you have to say, and I know that you have the knowledge and the expertise. And we have a little bit of a similar diet background because as you had learned previously, the reason why I got into eating a high raw diet, plant-based diet, was because I was also eating a pescatarian diet, thinking I was healthy, but I was eating a lot of processed food, no fruits and vegetables. I wasn't getting the proper nutrition.
yeah.
And then that's how I discovered, raw food. So So great.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a list of questions
Okay.
on my computer here, and we're going to get started with the first one.
Okay.
What is the number one common mistake you see people make on a vegan diet?
Okay, so I have 3.
Yeah,
I
that's perfect.
I couldn't pick just one. So like not eating enough, like not realizing how much more you have to eat when you're cutting out those like calorically dense animal products. You kind of have to up the volume of the plant foods. Like restrictive eating, cutting out like whole food groups like beans. Um, so yeah, like making sure you're meeting your caloric needs on a plant-based diet when you first get into it and going slowly with the fiber. It's like if you haven't been to the gym for years and you all of a sudden go, you want to start low and slow with the weights. So same if you've been eating a very low fiber diet for years, you want to start slowly incorporating that. Otherwise, you will have like a lot of bloating and digestive distress because it's the gut microbiome that has to adjust to all this new fiber and plant foods. So it's good to go slowly, not supplementing. And so we're going to talk more about that, obviously. And then not addressing like underlying digestive issues. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of like ex-vegan kind of YouTubers I've noticed over the past few years were always talking about like their digestive health, and that being the reason why they left a vegan diet. So you can address those things and still be vegan. You just have to like not let it go on and on. Like, get tested for SIBO and then take the antibiotic or the herbal antimicrobials to kill off the bacteria that's in the small intestine. Like, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to digest fiber very well. So, of course, you're not going to feel great on a plant based diet. So yeah, really kind of getting at the root cause and the underlying reasons someone may have, like excessive bloating or heartburn or like any IBS symptoms, really.
Yeah, no, that's so great. And that's such an important topic, especially how you had mentioned about these YouTubers who went off a vegan diet and because they were having so many digestive issues. And I think that also too, when I think people forget that whenever you make a huge change in your body, in your diet, whatever you do in your daily life, there's going to be some kind of reaction no matter what.
Yeah.
And people all of a sudden put in negative, they attach a negative feeling towards it without, like you were saying, without addressing it and really looking at why is this causing that,
Yeah.
which is really, really important. And I think they have to remember again why the first reason, why are they transitioning to a plant-based diet? What was the number one reason? Was it for health? Was it for animals? Was it for the environment? And then go back to that and then go from there. So that, thank you. So about the fiber,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably will address this in later on questions, but do you recommend for people who are just starting out on a plant-based diet, coming off a standard American diet, to take an enzyme to be able to digest the fiber better, like digestive enzymes?
I mean, for some people, I feel like it can be helpful, but really it's our gut bacteria that are going to have that ability. Um,
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
the more diversity of plants that we eat, the more diverse range of gut bacteria that we have, and the better able we'll be able to like break down. Well, the better they can break down those
Right.
indigestible fibers for us. Because fiber, we don't have the enzymes to break down, but our gut bacteria do.
Mm,
You don't have those strains of gut bacteria, then that's where you'll see issues come up. So really,
okay,
like
perfect.
starting like low with the fiber, but increasing the diversity of plants.
Awesome. I'm happy I asked that because, yeah, that's a really good point. And I know the gut microbiome is such a big topic now, and it's becoming so much more popular. And people are doing a lot more research, and there's a lot more science backing it now, which is really great. And it makes total sense. So, yeah, that's awesome. Yay. Okay. So, question number 2. What are the top 5 foods anyone on a vegan diet should consume regularly to maintain optimal health?
Well, there aren't really like specific foods. I think all whole plant foods are beneficial. All whole plant foods, like everything in the produce department of your grocery store and like the bulk section, so like all the whole grains and beans, those are superfoods.
Right.
So a lot of the times we associate superfoods with like, the foods that have a lot of like marketing behind them, but really like everything in every fruit and vegetable is a superfood. I'd say some of
Yeah.
my favorites that I try to incorporate every day would be like beans, berries, cruciferous vegetables, and especially like broccoli sprouts for the sulforaphane content.
Mhm.
Fermented foods. So there is one thing to note about that. If someone is histamine intolerant, and that comes down to like having like a gut dysbiosis issue, then fermented foods isn't going to be good for them. So if you don't
Mm.
have histamines properly, you need to like lay off the fermented foods and probiotics until you have that addressed. And then the omega-3 rich seeds. So like hemp, chia, flax. So I think those are all really important, but really variety is key. Um, you want to aim for at least like 30 different plant foods a week.
Yeah, that's perfect. And yeah, I mean, produce, right? Like that, when I go to the grocery store, I mean, 95% of my cart or my basket is from the produce aisle. Um, I barely even go down the other aisles,
Yeah,
especially for me because I make everything from scratch and it just
yeah,
doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to go buy a box of crackers
yeah,
or
exactly.
a box of cereal. I don't even remember last time I ate cereal or anything that processed. So that's really, really good to know. So thank you so much. Yeah, I love the bit on the fermentation and the fermented foods because again, that's one thing that's one food that's marketed so much lately for gut health, and a lot of people don't know about um, the reaction that people can have
Yeah.
if their gut microbiome is not balanced, and so that's really good to know. Okay, so what are some common nutritional deficiencies that we should always be aware of on a vegan diet?
Okay. First, I just want to say like these are issues in oh in non-vegans as well. Um, so it's not just like something that is inherently like wrong or imbalanced in a vegan diet. It's just a lot of it has to do with like the modern world that we live in. So like not being outside and getting our vitamin D from the sun, or like if we live here in Vancouver, like not even having sun all year round. So B12, vitamin D, omega 3s, so the EPA and DHA fatty acids, and then iron and zinc. But again, a lot of these can be low in non-vegans as well. And a lot of it comes down to like malabsorption issues. Like if you're not producing enough stomach acid, you're not going to be able to absorb all the iron and zinc from the foods that you're eating. So you could be eating enough, but if you're not absorbing all of it properly, then you could end up with deficiencies. So these are like possible deficiencies across the board, no matter what diet that you're eating.
All right, no, that's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It can be across the board with everybody, and because a lot of people, that's some, other misinformation that we see online and on the internet is that a lot of people are saying that vegan diets aren't healthy because it can cause, the iron and the B12, and B12 is a huge one. When people don't realize almost every person is deficient in B12 just because of the way that our food is grown now, the way that we eat, the soil that we use. Unfortunately, that's just the case. And I love the what you said about omega-3 because yeah, there's that's always a big issue too, is the imbalance between the omega-3 and omega-6 ratio. So for omega-3s, I know there's a lot of vegan omega-3 supplements that you can take. And so the vegan one is the algae-based one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So
And you
yeah,
can take a liquid or capsule.
yeah, okay, perfect.
And it's the exact same fatty acid that's in fish. So it's EPA and DHA, and these are the active omega-3 compounds that have the anti-inflammatory benefits.
Right.
So it's surprising a lot of like naturopaths and health practitioners are not even aware that these algae oils exist, even though they're the exact same thing as fish oils. I've come across practitioners that are like, oh, I wish I could like prescribe you fish oils to take. And it's like, well, there's algae oils now and they've been on the market
Yeah.
for like at least 7-8 years. So
Yeah, that's so funny. Hey, and then so that's good that there's people like you who are plant-based nutritionists, and so
yeah.
you're able to give this information to the people who need it. Yeah, so that's perfect. So then that comes down to our next question: is what supplements do you recommend on a vegan diet, and why?
So B12 is a must. I don't care if you've had like blood tests in the past and it shows you in the normal range. It can take years for a deficiency to develop, and it's not something you really want to gamble with because it's B12 is needed for like red blood cell formation, for your nerve health. So it can be really damaging if we're too low for too long. There's so much misinformation about, being able to get it from seaweeds or algae or unwashed organic produce because it's in the soil. It's like, okay, well, does the soil have cobalt in it? And because that's the bacteria take cobalt into its cells to make B12, but also it's such like trace amounts, like you're not really going to be able to get it from that. So I want a reliable, consistent source for everyone across the board. Even like the dietitians of Canada recommend a B12 supplement for everyone, regardless of their diet over the age of 50. And that's just to do with like the decline in stomach acid production as we age. And everyone is either directly or indirectly taking a B12 supplement because the farm animals that people eat, are given a B12 supplement in their feed. So you may
Right,
not think
exactly.
that you're supplementing when you're like a non-vegan, but you are because you're eating the animals that were supplemented. So that's something important to realize.
Yeah, perfect. And so let's touch on, because we had talked a little bit yesterday about my B12 experience.
Ah, that's really
So
interesting.
yeah, so that people should start with a low dose.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? So if you want to say a little bit like what our daily recommended intake is of B12 compared to what the supplements available out there have in them.
Well, we really only need like 2.6 micrograms of B12 a day. It's very, very small amounts, but you'll see supplements that are like, 5,000 micrograms in a single tablet. So taking like a lower dose every day, I feel like is a better way to go. So if you can find like a 100 or a 250 or a 500 microgram, and if it's like a liquid or a spray, like you have where it's like, 30 sprays is 5,000 or 1,000 or whatever, take just a couple of sprays. So this will depend on your levels as well. So if you do get tested and you're quite low, then you would want to like higher dose to get your levels back up. But if you are just trying to maintain your already good levels, then you really only need like a small amount every day. I do recommend like a methylcobalamin instead of cyanocobalamin, just because, you'll need a little bit higher of a dose. But some people don't use the cyanocobalamin form very well. And that's also the form that's in like fortified vegan products like milks
Mm-hmm.
and almond milks and stuff. So if you're relying on fortified foods for your B12, but you don't methylate that form very well, then you could end up being low. So I always say to ask for like your B12 serum and either like homocysteine or something called an MMA test. And that will just give like a broader picture of your actual B12 status, because just getting your B12 serum tested only shows part of the picture. So you could be fine. It could show like you're in the normal range, but still have B12 deficiency because the body isn't like using it properly for some reason. So if you ask for like a homocysteine and your homocysteine is like elevated, then you'd want to relook at your B12 intake.
Right, which makes total sense. And I'm so happy that we had that conversation, because the original B12 supplement that I had was 5,000 micrograms
That's so much.
sublingual. And when I took it, like I told you, I had the worst reaction, really bad negative reaction. And I had the worst headache for the rest of the day. I could barely function. And then it caught, for some reason, I don't know why, the next few days I was really depressed, which is just so strange and not like me at all. And I'm like, what is going on? And so then that's when I went out and I bought the dropper bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So one whole dropper is 1,000, what is it, 1,000 milligrams or 1,000 micrograms? 1,000 micrograms. And so now I take 4 drops out of the 30 recommended drops. And I'm like, and that's good for me. And I found, so again, like people need to test and just find out what works best for them. And if they have a reaction, then go to a lower dose and go from there. Thank goodness. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
And so what the other supplements you recommend are zinc and iron?
Those are on an individual basis. So I don't recommend those for everyone across the board. I do recommend like a vitamin D3 supplement for everyone, vegan or not, again. So there are vegan D3 supplements. Not all of them are vegan. So D3 either be coming from lanolin, which is like from the oil in sheep wool, or from lichen, which is a type of moss. So unless it says like vegan or like lichen sourced, it will be the sheep wool one. And you can get your levels tested to really figure out what dose you need to be at, but the standard is like 1,000 IUs a day.
Right, perfect. Yeah, so I take a vegan vitamin D3 every day, and I take zinc. But it's funny to me, like because you would think that zinc would be in all of these whole plant-based foods. So why is it that people on a plant-based diet aren't sometimes getting enough zinc?
Absorption sometimes, and sprouting, soaking, cooking, all of those things help break down like the phytic acid that can get in the way of zinc absorption. So if you're not doing those things, then it'll be harder to get the zinc from the food. So yeah, just if you're plant-based, aim for like more than the recommended daily amount.
Right.
Just to like cover your bases. And you can ask your doctor for a zinc test as well. Like you may need to pay for it, because usually it's not like a standard test unless you have symptoms like associated with low zinc. But it might be a good idea just to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, perfect. And so that's a good point you brought up about soaking like the nuts and seeds and removing the phytic acid, because I really teach that a lot. And I do that with all my nuts and seeds and my grains. I soak them to neutralize the enzyme inhibitors again, so that they don't cause malabsorption. And so that's a great tip. Like for anyone who has a dehydrator, I buy all my nuts and seeds in bulk. As soon as I receive them, I soak big batches all at once, and then I dehydrate them all, and then store them so that they're just ready to use, and I don't even have to think about soaking them. So if I want to make almond milk, I have my almonds all ready to go. If I want to make anything. So yeah, it's a really good tip for people just to do to prep and plan. And I also soak all my grains for about at least minimum half an hour before I even use them. But it also just like helps remove dust and debris as well.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this yesterday with my students in our course live as well, that you just never know. Like when you're buying things in bulk, you don't know how many people it's gone through. There's been so many suppliers it's gone through by the time it gets to you. Like who has touched this? Where has it been? Even though, yeah. So I mean, it's like washing them as well. You want to just remove kind of the dust, and especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Crazy.
like to add, when I'm soaking like beans, I'll add a bit of apple cider vinegar to the soak water.
Yes, good idea.
Cook it overnight and then drain and rinse it and cook it in fresh water and really like cook it well. You don't want to eat like undercooked beans.
Right. So that's good to know. And so what does the apple cider vinegar do?
I feel like it just helps break down some of that indigestible carbohydrate that can cause like gas and bloating for some people.
Right.
I want people to like get beans in no matter what. So if it's like canned beans or no beans, I'd rather canned beans. And then if it's canned beans or like soaked beans that you cook yourself, go with that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So the beans that I eat, I sprout beans at home and then I eat them raw sprouted and I love them. Just they have the most amazing texture in salads. They're really crunchy. And again, sprouting is so easy and beans sprout in like 2 days and they're done.
Just don't do that with kidney beans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. I buy like the sprouting mix.
Oh, okay.
From like sprouting suppliers like West Coast Seeds and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So why not with kidney beans?
Because the lectin content can make you really sick.
Oh, so that's really good to know. Okay.
And in general, like sprouting the beans and eating them raw, I mean, if you have the digestive ability to do that, that's great. But for some people, they will need to like cook them.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. Good info. Are there any vegan foods you feel we should avoid?
Not really. I mean,
What about the vegan junk food?
yeah, I mean, obviously, when I'm talking about like a vegan or plant-based diet, I want people to focus on whole, like unprocessed foods. I feel like, yeah, when you eat out a lot or eat all of those processed foods, the damaged, like oxidized vegetable oils are really inflammatory. So I feel like a lot of people get like too much of that. And then, yeah, like refined carbohydrates aren't,
Yeah.
like, you don't want that to make up your diet.
What do you think of canola oil?
Not a fan.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a good health-wise at all. And there's so many studies now that have come out about canola oil, how damaging it is, causes dementia and a lot of other disorders.
I mean, with like most vegetable oils on the market, a lot of them have been, extracted from the plant using the chemical hexane. So you can have like hexane residue in the oil. And they've been exposed to heat, light, and oxygen. So all of those things that damage the actual fatty acids and create free radicals. And free radicals are like going to damage every little thing that they come in contact with in the body. I mean, it's why antioxidant intake is so important, because we actually will always have like free radicals in our environment. We even make some just from our normal like metabolic processes, like when we digest food, and it's in like air pollution. It's everywhere. But if we can like minimize how much we're taking in our diet and increase the antioxidants in our diet, then the antioxidants can neutralize the free radicals before they can like cause all the damage.
Right. No, that's really good information. Thank you. And that's why you had suggested berries out of the
Yeah.
top superfoods to eat. Get in those berries and those antioxidants that our bodies need to fight those free radicals.
Every
Right.
color of fruit and veggie is a different antioxidant. So you want to eat
Right.
a huge variety of colors every day.
Yes.
Great because
Eat the
they're
rainbow.
beautiful. Yeah, eat the rainbow.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. And so what do you think about, so when we were talking about vegan junk food, because this is my biggest pet peeve, is a lot of people look at it as a health food even because it says it's vegan. So nowadays, if there's vegan or plant-based on the label, people right away associate that with health. But people still need to do their own research. They need to do the work. They need to look at the ingredients. They need to look at the label, and they need to decide whether or not it's healthy. And again, like the biggest craze right now is the Beyond Meat burgers and the Impossible burgers. And I'm like, I'm all for it again because no animals were harmed in the process. And it's still better in my mind than eating animal products.
Yeah.
But it's a great transition food. It's a great transition food and maybe a treat, but not eating it every day on a daily basis or even like 4 times a week I just feel like is way too much.
And pay attention to like how you feel after. Like I remember when I tried it, it just felt like it sat in my stomach for hours,
Yeah.
not breaking down. So like pay attention to those things because like our bodies will tell us.
Exactly. That's good because I talk about that all the time about intuitive eating.
Mhm.
And when we switch over to a whole foods, plant-based diet and we're eating healthier foods, it's so much easier to become intuitive with knowing what ingredients work for your body and what don't.
Yeah.
Now I'm at that stage, what what I can't eat, and especially the Beyond Meat burgers. I think I had one little bite once and that was it. But I mean,
Really.
I can't touch that stuff. My body just will go into inflammatory mode and
Yeah.
I'll get a headache, I'll be lethargic. Even like nutritional yeast, I can't do nutritional yeast at
No.
all, even though it's a fortified B12
Yeah.
food. But and people think that nutritional yeast has naturally occurring B12, but a lot of people don't understand that it's actually a fortified um, food. It's not naturally occurring. So that's
Yeah.
good
Exactly.
to know as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't want people to stress about like if they stray away from whole food eating. Like if you can kind of keep like the 80-20 rule in your mind, like if you're eating 80% whole foods, your body can kind of deal with those like occasional treats or whatever. But definitely, I don't want people to associate like guilt or like
Yeah.
about eating certain things. Like definitely be flexible and just learn to listen to your body because maybe like you will try something where you were like being flexible and eating something more processed, but then because of how you feel after, maybe you won't want to try it again the next time. So just not being too strict or uh like feeling guilty about anything ever because that can be like damaging as well.
Yeah, totally. Like what you were talking about at the beginning about restrictive eating. So
Yeah.
that's really important as well. And because the restrictive eating, like you said, can cause other issues and digestive issues and cause other problems.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Yay. Okay. So we're rolling through these questions, which is great. Um, what is my next one here? Okay. Since you are a meal planning pro, you do this in your business as well. Could you share some quick meal prep and planning tips with us?
Yeah, like when you get home from the grocery store, like washing and chopping your veggies can be like a time saver for when you do need to put together like a quick meal. Batch cooking, like large batches of beans, and then like soak them and then cook them and then freeze them. And if you freeze them on like a baking tray and then put them into a bag after, because if you freeze them in the bag, it can just be like a big ball of ice. Um,
Great. Yeah.
yeah, soaking, like pre-soaking nuts and seeds. And I'd say like if you're using it in something that's going to be wet anyways, like the milk, I would say just like freeze them as is, like after they're soaked. And then if you're going to be using it in like a pie crust or something where you do need that dry texture, then soak them and then dehydrate them and then store them that way. So depending on what you're going to use them for after. But I always like having like pre-soaked stuff in my freezer. Yeah, I'd say like, yeah, just cooking larger meals, soups and like smoothies are great for like using up what's in your fridge. So nothing goes to waste because you can usually just like throw whatever you have in them.
Yeah, right.
And like you could do raw soups in a Vitamix or Blendtec, like any like high speed blender, or just like cook them on the stove.
Yeah, perfect. So I do that whenever I go to the whenever I go grocery shopping
Mm.
and I come home and I have all my lettuces and all of my root vegetables. I wash everything all at once.
Okay.
And then I put them, all the lettuce and everything, into containers. And then I'll just prep a ton of vegetables to put in my salads and whatever I'm eating throughout the week. So I'll shred a bunch of like carrots, beets, or whatever I have, and then I'll put that in a container as well. And then I'll like make a dressing and a dip maybe, and then have that over the next few days. Yeah, so that's really important for people to know. And even like herbs, pre-washing all of your herbs and storing those properly, and then so you have them ready to use. Because I think that deters people a lot from making healthy food, is because they're like, oh, I have to wash this again. Oh, I have to wash this again and prep this. And they think it's really time consuming and a lot of work. But if they just take the time to prep and plan, that they'll be a lot more successful in eating healthy food.
Sauces ahead of time too. And then, because then when it comes time to make a meal, like everything's already pretty much ready.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I love this question. What is your most favorite meal of the day, and what does it usually entail?
I don't know. I'd say like lunch or dinner or brunch or breakfast.
All of it.
I like all my meals. It really ranges. Like I make tacos a lot, either with like a romaine leaf or with like a blue corn tortilla. I just, so everyone knows, like I'm not all raw. I eat like raw and cooked. And for me, it definitely like changes with the seasons, like the ratios. I try to just like listen to my body. Um, I like soups, curries. Like I spend a lot of time in Mexico, and like even when I'm in like a hot climate like that, like I still crave like the spicy, like warming stuff.
Wow.
So I'll make those, and then large like salads that have substantial like either tofu or tempeh or beans or like buckwheat or quinoa, like not just like big bowls of lettuce. Like I like if I'm having a salad as a meal, I want it to be like substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm exactly the same. And I love tempeh. The first time I tried it was when the first time I was in Bali in 2017, and I fell in love with it.
Oh,
And yeah, it's one of my favorite things to eat. And yeah, I'm the same. Like I need a meal salad.
yeah.
And like my biggest pet peeve is when you go out to eat to a restaurant and they don't have any vegan options, and they're like, "Oh, we can make you a salad." Yay, that means I'm gonna have to go find something else to eat because I'll still be hungry. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
I need like lots of stuff in there. Texture. I'm such a texture person.
Okay.
So I need something crunchy, I need something soft, and then, need my dressing. And so I'll have like flax crackers on hand all the time, or like spice nuts and seeds that I could throw in there.
For sure.
Something that's going to fill me up. Or steamed veggies. I love steaming.
Yeah.
So I'll just steam like a ton of veggies. But I'm the same. Like I don't eat all raw. It depends on the season too. In
Yeah.
the summer, definitely a lot more. And in the winter, I eat a lot more cooked food.
Yeah.
but like what we were saying yesterday, cooked for me is steaming and making grains in my rice cooker, because other than that, I mean, I don't ever use my oven. I don't really like to cook, but I like to have warm food sometimes. So I feel like steaming and the grains in the rice cooker is a good option for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely like making the raw food a lot more. Yeah, so that's awesome. So what would you normally eat for breakfast? Do you have like green smoothies, or do you juice at all?
I usually make like a big matcha latte in my blender, but I'll add like hemp seeds and I really like Nuit almond butter. It's like
Mm.
this locally made. Well, she has like peanut butter and almond butter, but it's fortified with like a bunch
Oh,
of
wow.
minerals and B12 and D3 and algae, EPA, DHA. So I think that's kind of cool.
And so what is the name? It's local here in Vancouver
Yeah, it's called Nuit.
with
N-U.
an N?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have to look that up. That sounds amazing.
I kind of like got sick of green smoothies. I don't know. I had them for so long, and I still, of course, have them, but it's not like my go-to breakfast. I don't have like a big appetite in the morning, but I like having like a hot drink. So I'll make that matcha in my blender, and I'll have
Right.
that. And if I'm like, I feel like oatmeal too. That's like the only thing I ate growing up. So like my whole life, like
Yeah,
up
me
until
too.
20 years old, having oatmeal every day for breakfast. I got kind of sick of that.
Yeah, that's all my mom made for breakfast for us
Yeah,
every morning was oatmeal.
yeah. Still like it occasionally, and actually, I'll put like oats in my matcha latte too. Like, so my
Yeah,
matcha lattes are like a meal.
like a smoothie. Yeah, I have a matcha latte every morning as well.
Yeah,
I just love matcha, and I just love having that warmth in the morning, just something warm. But I'm the same. So I put hemp seeds in, and yeah, I love using hemp seeds and things like that, because making hemp milk, you don't have to strain it. You just throw the hemp seeds in the water, and you have hemp milk, and it just gives that really nice creamy consistency. And I put in dates and
yeah,
cinnamon and some mushroom powder.
yeah.
Right now I'm using reishi. I always kind of switch it up.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's good. I mean, we shouldn't be eating a lot in the morning anyways, because we're breaking a fast and our body's getting used to digesting again after not eating for however long you're sleeping. And then I'll work my way up. So then I'll have like maybe a juice and then a smoothie, and then work my way into food for throughout the day. Yeah, and then have my dessert and chocolate at night.
Nice. Love it.
But sometimes it's not a good thing to eat chocolate right before bed, like I did last night.
True. Yeah.
When I want it, I gotta have it. Yeah, so that's perfect. And we're already all through the questions already, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
We
So
covered a lot
that,
of information. I did want to say one thing about omega-3. So we talked about like those algae supplements.
mhm.
Those are great. If you are eating like 2 to 3 tablespoons of like freshly ground flax or freshly ground chia seeds, then you may not need that algae
Oh,
supplement, especially if like you don't have any like inflammatory issues going on. But it's just great that we have that option. Um,
yeah.
the type of omega-3 in those seeds, the body has to convert to EPA and DHA, so the active forms that we can get directly from the algae supplements. And that conversion is pretty low. And so everyone's conversion rate is different, and we don't really like know like our individual, like how much of that omega-3 from the flax is getting converted to EPA and DHA. So if you just want like a good insurance that you are meeting your needs, then you would go for the algae supplement. But
Right.
sometimes I've had clients that like I didn't suggest one because they were doing like, fresh ground flax every day, like 2 to 3 tablespoons. And then that amount of ALA, that's the type of omega in those, in the seeds, could get converted to the amount of EPA and DHA that we need. So
Right.
that is the algae omega supplement is kind of like an individual basis. But I feel like most people will benefit from it. And then the B12 and B3 are like everyone should be taking those.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Thank you for letting us know that. So for the flax seeds, because a lot of people can't digest whole flax seed, so should we be doing ground flax?
Definitely in a coffee grinder. And you
Okay,
can
great.
grind like 3 days worth at a time and then keep that in your fridge in an airtight container. But once it's ground, you're exposing it to oxygen, and that oxygen can make the omega-3 rancid. So
Right.
it's better if you can kind of like do it fresh every day. And chia seeds, like you don't have to grind. If you don't grind them, you're getting like lots of fiber from them. But if you want to kind of access the omega-3 that's in the chia seeds, then you'd want to do the same thing with the flax.
Right. Okay, perfect. That's really good to know because, yeah, with the flax too, a lot of people buy it pre-ground at the store as flax meal, and I always tell them not to
Yeah.
because most of the time it's not even stored in the fridge.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be, I store mine, I grind it myself, and I store mine in the freezer, again, in an airtight container. If it's not stored in the fridge and you're getting it off the shelf in the store, like 99%, it's going to be rancid, already gone rancid and bad. And like you said, it's going to be oxidized. You're not going to get the nutrients from it. So
And
it's just a waste.
oil, like I don't recommend flaxseed oil.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like just oxidizes so fast.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yay, so much good information.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of the information that you gave everyone here today. I know everyone's going to find this really valuable, and it gives us a really good insight on trying to put all those pieces together. Again, with all of so much information out there, it's really saturated and a lot of misinformation. And so this gives us a good base to know, again, like what we should be incorporating in our diet, what supplements we should be taking regularly to go get tested, how to go get tested, what they should be testing for, how they should be testing. And yeah, so that's so great. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm really glad we were able to do this. And it's like, yeah, my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. I just want everyone to be like as healthy as possible on a plant-based diet so we can be like good role models and like show people that it can be done and it's possible to thrive, and
yes, exactly.
just having the right information and tools.
Which is so important, again, because then, a lot of people who just get into it and are having negative reactions and they don't know what to do. A lot of people, instead of going to go source out the information and speaking to a professional, they'll just go back to how they were eating before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or when people say like, oh, I tried vegan diet, but it didn't work for me. It's like, okay, well, were you eating like Oreos and French fries? Because those are vegan. Like,
yeah,
saying
exactly.
eat a vegan diet, that doesn't tell
White bread is vegan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what are your services? If you can just tell us a little bit about what you offer and how people can find you. And if you offer any like online services or what you have going on.
So everything is at synergynutrition.ca. So I do private nutrition coaching and also custom meal planning. So those are my two main services. On Instagram, it's at synergy_nutrition. I have a vegan podcast with my sister who's also vegan. So we talk to like all types of different vegans here in Vancouver and also like around the world. And then at Plant Life Nutrition, which is like the only fully vegan supplement store in Vancouver. We're in East Van near Hastings and Nanaimo. So I'm the manager there. And when I was seeing people in person, that's where I would see my clients in the office there. So I'm not sure when that will start back up again. So right now, all of my services are online. But the store just reopened. So June,
Perfect.
I'll be there. And
okay, great. That's so awesome. So people can find you online at synergynutrition.ca. And that information is already in the Facebook event, and then I'll post it in the group again for everybody.
Great.
And yeah, we're getting some really nice comments here.
Oh, great.
But just so that everyone's aware who's watching, I do see your comments, but the way that we're broadcasting through StreamYard, we can't respond or see who's actually commenting. It just says Facebook user,
Okay.
unfortunately. So I would love to
We'll get
send
on
back a
there.
message and interact.
Yeah.
And this video will be available. It's recording, so it'll be available after. So for people who missed it, they can watch it again. And yeah, so thank you so much. That was so much fun. Thank you so much, Shawna. I really appreciate you joining and taking the time out of your day for everybody to give us all that really valuable information.
Yes, you're welcome.
So thank you. Have an awesome day.
You
And
too.
thanks everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. You guys all have a great day as well.